Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of light and secret knowledge wherever you may be, you are listening to Points of Light Radio, the podcast dedicated to taking you past the apron and behind the closed doors of lodges everywhere. And here is your host, Stan Miller.
Greetings, brothers and sisters. Shalom, assalamu alaikum, ad nastana. It's wonderful to be back with you here on Points of Light Radio and continuing this journey of light and knowledge. Right? And it's wonderful to continue our efforts to raise the profile and preserve the history of these wonderful fraternal organizations. And in this segment of Points of Light Radio, I will be revisiting an organization that I've been wanting to feature here again for over a year. And that organization is the Free Gardeners. Now, if you recall, I featured them in my May 1st, 2022 segment of Points of Light Radio, as well as my September 7th, 2022 segment. Right? Now, it's been a while, so I'll do a full recap here. The Order of Free Gardeners is a fraternal society that was founded in Scotland, UK, in the middle of the 17th century, and later spread to England and Ireland. The oldest evidence of the order is a record of the minutes for the Haddington Lodge, which opened in August 16th of 1676. This is a very old and deep organization. And much like Freemasonry, I think its roots can go further back than that, right? Now, although the Free Gardeners have always remained independent of Freemasonry, the history and organization of the two orders show numerous similarities, right? Prime example, the emblem of the Order of the Free Gardeners is the square and compass and pruning knife. With Freemasonry, it's the square and compass. Obviously, there was quite a bit of crossover. You've heard me talk about crossover between these different organizations over the course of Points of Light Radio. There was obviously a lot of crossover, right? The order works a similar structure. There's a similar narrative to Freemasonry about giving you tools for your giving you with tools, giving their members tools, right? It's the same basic idea with Free Gardeners, right? Now, Free Gardeners work a 4-degree structure. From my research, the Free Gardeners have lodges in the UK, Germany, Australia, and there are also 2 or 3 in the US. I think one is in West Virginia, Virginia somewhere. And now the Free Gardeners are in Canada. Stay tuned. I'm going to get back to that, right? Now, the Free Gardeners are a fairly obscure and little known organization, but that's changing. I want to say thanks in part to this podcast, right? Now, my guests on this particular segment of Points of Light Radio are members of the Mount of Olives 33-3 Free Gardeners Lodge in Edmonton, Alberta, which I'm proud to say that I helped start and I'm a member of. You can call me anything you want for plugging my own organization, right? Right now, I hope to get more than one member of the lodge on here. This will be recorded over a period of time, but I'm hoping to get more than one of the members on here today or over the next week or so. But I'm looking forward to bringing you this because this is something that, right, I'm proud to say I was part of. But are you still thirsty for knowledge? Are you still searching for the light? Then you trim your lamp and follow me. I'm proud to lead you.
Still getting
Nathaniel Clayton, my worshipful brother. Welcome to Points of Light Radio.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you tell my listeners and viewers about yourself, first of all?
Well, I'm Nathaniel Clayton. a member of both the Orange Order as well as the Free Gardeners. And I love fraternalism, and I want to see it grow and flourish. I'm from both Alberta, Canada, as well as Dallas, Texas. So I kind of go between the two. So I'm from both places.
Alberta would be no big change for you if you're from Texas. So you recently joined, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, the Mount of Olives, my lodge, Mount of Olives 33-3, Free Gardeners Lodge in Edmonton, Alberta. How do you like it so far?
I love it. The symbolism is beautiful, and kind of like in Freemasonry, you're given tools to work with. The Free Gardeners gives you tools, but they're related to gardening. So it's kind of a different set of tools. And it's beautiful. It's a very gentle system. It's not aggressive or in your face. It's something you can do. It comes straight from the Bible. And if you're kind of concerned about fraternalism or afraid to get into fraternity just because of rumors you've heard or something like that, or too much YouTube, Free Gardeners is a great place to start because it's gentle. You can have brothers and sisters there, and you get a feel of what fraternalism is really about.
Well, you talk about now you're a member of the Orange Order, and you're also in the craft. So
that's correct.
How do you feel it meshes with them? I wanted to ask you about that. How do you feel it meshes? You're also a preceptor in the Black Preceptory as well. So how do you feel it relates or meshes with them?
I feel meshes great with all of them, actually. One of the things that's beautiful about free gardening is that the degree systems are built around the Bible. So each degree it comes straight from the Bible, what you're being taught. Mm-hmm. But also you have then the tools. So if you're in the craft, for instance, the tools are very important.
You understand that, yeah.
And when it comes to free gardening, the tools that we use for our garden are very, very important. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, there's things that we don't talk about in the craft because it's not doesn't really show up that we talk about in free gardening. For instance, we talk about King Solomon's temple in the third degree and free gardening. And something that never occurred to me is that King Solomon was a gardener. That just totally, I don't know how I missed that. It's right there in scripture. And it's part of the degree work. And it's something beautiful when you're taking the tools of the craft and you have the tools of free gardening to think, oh, wow, this is something that I can think differently about King Solomon's temple. So for me, that went together really, really beautifully.
Well, I did talk about this in a previous segment of Points of Light Radio where I covered the free gardeners. Nature and gardening and gardens play a huge role in the Bible. Like Jesus used to like to go off into the wilderness to the Mount of Olives to pray and things like that, or do his exhortations. He went to the Garden of Gethsemane just before his execution to pray and meditate before, to build up his strength, shall we say, before doing that. So it does play a huge role. And like I said, the very biblical narrative, having been in the Orange myself, as a member of the Orange myself, as well as the Preceptory, I do agree with you that it does mesh well with the Orange, with its 4-degree structure, but also with the preceptories. Like you say, the Orange degrees are very without talking to them, are very much in your face type degree. They're there, they give them to you. They rocket them to you, and that. Whereas the Black, we break it down. They're a little more reverent. We take our time. We exhort you. They're giving you not just lessons for the lodge, but lessons for life. And I do feel that the free gardeners are that. They are very much a lesson for life. I like you say, I agree that. They're equipping.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like the stories in the Bible that are in the Orange and the stories that are in free gardening are they're different, but they complement each other really, really well. So if you go through the Bible, you have different parts of the Bible, and free gardening, it focuses on the gardening aspect, whereas in the Orange it focuses on different aspects. So I find that having both, it's super, just complements each other so well, especially then having the craft as well. Those three go together really well. And then you throw the black on top. It's just perfect.
Yeah, I agree with you. But what drew you to free gardening?
Well, I like the idea because, you think of Adam as a gardener and then Noah, who he had his wine fields, like his grape fields and a whole bunch of things. And then you have King Solomon and then even Jesus, he was mistaken for a gardener, actually.
He
And
was. Yes, you're right.
yeah, it's right there in the Bible. And it made me consider, I've learned these things from masonry, I've learned these tools, I've learned these things in the orange, and they've improved my life a ton. And here's something else. My family loves to garden, and I'm trying to learn about gardening myself, but it would help me to have the more moral side of development with gardening as well, with using the tools. So it gives me something to think about when I garden, because my mind likes to go crazy when I do things that are a little monotonous. And for gardening, having free gardening there, it gives me something just kind of to focus my mind and to meditate on while I do that, to pray about.
How do you feel about what would you say to those thinking of joining, shall we say?
I think it would be a great path, and especially if you have other things you want to do in the future, but you're really shy about. Oh, I don't know about fraternalism. I think free gardening is a great place to start because it's gentle. A lot of the people are actually everyone I've met is super friendly, and it's a great way to make friends, new brothers and sisters. The teachings are very gentle. It's very it really supports your heart.
And I think it meshes well with the environmentalism today that we
Mm.
we believe in building a better world and a better in better selves as well, don't we?
Yeah, that's something I found I really do like about it is it talks about harmony and taking care of the world, and it's not the I want to say two-faced thing that you see a lot of times where people are like, "Oh, take care of the world, throw their trash out in the
Yeah.
middle of the street." It's about actually caring and being involved in your community, caring about the world around you, the environment. So it's sincere. It's not insincere.
And but I want to I said how do you feel about those thinking of joining? First of all, going forward, you have some exciting news, don't you? You recently received a warrant to open the Mount Sinai Free Gardeners Lodge in Lloydminster, Alberta. I love this. It's lovely to see this thing growing. So tell me about the Mount Sinai Free Gardeners Lodge. What are your plans for it? When do you expect to tell us about it?
I'm super excited about it. So the name Mount Sinai is chosen because it shows the direct connection with God on Mount Sinai. And for me, that's something that's very important. And having it local in my community, I'm like about 30 minutes or so from Lloydminster. So for me to have something that close and to have other brothers and sisters close, because I mean, Edmonton's 2 hours away, and I love being a part of your lodge, but I also want more lodges. I'd like to
Well, the
see
goal
this
was
grow.
to grow it.
Oh yeah,
The goal was to
and
grow it and expand it. It was never designed to keep it in one city.
that's
Like the
true.
gospel, we're going into the world and we're taking it
That's
to Canada.
true. And so I'm excited having it come locally to me. And I'm looking to expand not just there, but once it's grown more in Lloydminster, there's actually Vermilion County, what I live in, but I'm close to Lloydminster. I'd like to see one in the town of Vermilion as well. And just keep seeing it grow, spread out. And so I'm focusing first on Lloydminster because that's where my church is, and that's where a lot of the people I know are who would be interested in it. And so I'm really excited about the future of it.
Well, I was going to ask you where you were going to planning on getting your candidates from. I'm not familiar with the Lloydminster area. If you told me you were going to open it in Red Deer, I'd say okay. So we have Innisfil, Olds, Bowden. Where do you plan, like Black Falls? Where would your candidates come from?
Likely they would come from Lloydminster. Lloydminster is a tricky city. Part of it's in Alberta and part of it's in Saskatchewan. So it's known as the border town. So it's a part of an area called the Lakeland area, and it's right up against Vermilion County, which also starting probably people would come from Vermilion County as well because they're pretty close to each other. And I used to work in Lloydminster, but technically I was in Vermilion County, and that created a lot of confusion for me and for distractions. So I plan to keep it somewhere that's not confusing within Lloydminster on either the Alberta or Saskatchewan side.
Yeah, in the surrounding communities, though, right? So that's great.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But now, have any of your brethren in the craft shown any interest in it?
There's been a few who have asked me about it. Actually, from around the world, they've been like, "This is interesting. We haven't heard of it." I actually have a friend in Africa who was like, That's really neat. Like I've never heard of this," and he's like, "I'm pursuing this part of the craft right now, but this might be something in the future I'm interested in pursuing." And I said, I recommend it. Like I keep saying, it's gentle. It's a very gentle thing, and it goes really well with the craft.
Well, worshipful brother, I commend you on your efforts. I look forward to supporting you, and all the best to you and the Mount Sinai Free Gardeners Lodge.
Thank you, brother.
The Free Gardeners, brothers and sisters, more specifically the Mount of Olives 33-3 Free Gardeners Lodge in Edmonton, Alberta. And of course, I'm giving you an advanced look at the Mount Sinai Free Gardeners Lodge that was recently formed in Lloydminster, Alberta. Right? I do love Nathaniel Clayton's enthusiasm, not just for the Free Gardeners, but for fraternalism in general. It's wonderful to hear that people still have that passion for the brotherhood and sisterhood of fraternalism, right? I'm also proud to say that the Free Gardeners are in Canada. I was part of the initiative that brought them here. I'm quite proud to say that. I'm very proud to have brought this organization here. And I'm very quick to tell you that they are growing, right? As you can see from this segment, we have a brother in Lloydminster who's bringing them to that area. We also have a brother in Saskatchewan who's going to charter a lodge down there. And I will do everything I can to help them do that. And, people can sit there and say I'm shamelessly plugging an organization on my own podcast. Well, it all falls in line with the goals of Points of Light Radio, which are to preserve the history and raise the profile of these different fraternal organizations to keep them active and alive. And this is one organization that is active and is alive, right? I'd be happy to bring your organization on here, right? But that's all the time I have for this today, brothers and sisters. Before I go, I want to remind you that this podcast is available on both YouTube and Spreaker. Please share, like, and subscribe when viewing Points of Light Radio on YouTube. I also welcome your comments and input. You can follow Points of Light Radio on my Facebook page at facebook.com/Points of Light Radio. You can see the link to the Mount of Olives Free Gardeners Lodge as well, their Facebook page, as well as the Facebook page from the Mount Sinai Free Gardeners Lodge. My Twitter handle is at PO Light Radio. My Spotify channel, you can see the link for that, as well as my Points of Light Radio store. Brothers and sisters, it's been an honor and a pleasure to bring this organization to you and to bring it to this country. Until we meet again, just step into the light.